magnificent homes in Santa Barbara, California. Homes with the choicest view tumbled unceremoniously into the ocean. All it took was a series of rainstorms. Theories, too, even some that masquerade as fact, have a way of eroding with time, showing dangerous cracks, finally washing away, or toppling headlong under the bombardment of questions that cannot be answered. What then? It is written. This is George Vandeman. Today, It Is Written presents Darwin's Dilemma. Anna was only 4 years old the night that Finn found her on the fog-shrouded London docks. Finn was 6 feet 2 and 225 pounds. Now, she wouldn't tell him where she lived, but announced that she was coming home to live with him. So he took her home. His mother was used to taking in strays, whether dogs or cats or people. But little did Finn know how this tiny child would dominate his life. At 4, she possessed an irresistible charm, and already she had a very special acquaintance with Mr. God. But by the time she was 6, she was a theologian, a mathematician, and certainly a philosopher. Finn considered himself well educated, but when he tried to answer Anna's questions, he found himself continually going to the foot of the class. He tells the story, which happens to be true, in his delightful little book entitled Mr. God, This is Anna. Well, one evening they were sitting on the railway wall watching the trains go by. Anna was drinking lemonade. Suddenly she started to giggle. She giggled until she got the hiccups. Well, when finally she settled back to normal, Finn asked her what was so funny. Well, she said, I just thought I could answer a squillion questions. Squillion was the word she had invented for numbers too big to express in any other way. Me too, Finn said, not surprised at all. Anna leaned forward in her excitement. Can you do it too? Sure, he said, nothing to it. Mind you, I might get about half a squillion wrong. She was disappointed. Oh, I get all my questions right. Well, that was going a little too far. Little correction was in order. He said firmly, you can't. Nobody can answer a squillion questions right. I can, she said. I can answer a squillion questions right. Well, that's just not possible. Nobody can do that. I can. I really can. Finn was ready to scold her. He turned her to face him. But he was met by a pair of eyes that were calm and certain. I can teach you, she said. Before he could say another word, she was off. What's 1 add 1 add 1? 3, of course. What's 1 add 2? 3. What's 8 take away 5? Still 3. Where was she leading him? What's 8 take away 6 add 1? 3. What's 103 take away 100? Hold it, he said. Of course the answer's 3, but you're cheating a bit, aren't you? No, I'm not. Why, you could go on asking that kind of question till the cows come home. And at that, Anna exploded into a roar of laughter. He wondered what he'd said that was so funny. Then he realized that asking questions till the cows come home was certainly the same as asking a squillion questions. But she turned the thumbscrew one more turn. What's a half and a half and a half and a... He put his hand over her mouth. He didn't need to answer. He had the message. She finished off with, and how many questions sums is 3 the answer to? Duly chastened, he answered, squillions. He turned away to watch the trains, and after a moment or two, she put her head on his shoulder and said, isn't it funny, Finn? Every number is the answer to squillions of questions. And that was the beginning of a game that would play, they would play for many months. Start with the answer, find the question, any number, any sentence. Anything you could say was the answer to something. For Finn, it was not only a game, but it was an education in reverse. He'd been taught the old-fashioned way, question first, answer second. But this tiny redhead was teaching him a new approach. She was teaching him to walk backward until at last he bumped into the question. Walking backward, of course, is not always the safest way to proceed. But Anna's game is not really new. The advocates of the theory of evolution have been playing it for many years now. In the supposed magic of long ages in the past, they've found an answer that they start from. And like Anna, they proceed not from the question to the answer, but starting with the answer, they search for questions that fit. Anna, of course, so long as she stayed within the field of mathematics, was playing a safe game. She was on firm ground. For mathematics is a very exact science. It's not a theory. It's not an assumption. Whether she started with the question or with the answer really didn't matter. She was dealing with facts, facts that do not change. You see, no assumptions were involved. But the study of our beginnings is not an exact science at all. True, the facts are there, hidden in the past, but there's no way that we can observe them. We don't have at our disposal a videotape of the origin of our universe. We can't see on a giant screen how the stars and the planets were flung into space, or how life began. Both evolution and creation, then, must be treated as theories. Neither can be proved. The scientific process cannot possibly yield firm answers, for neither of them can be put into the test tube. Neither creation nor evolution can be reproduced in the laboratory, you see. Evolution is based upon certain assumptions. Assumptions that have never been proved, nor is there any way that they can be proved. Evolution assumes that nature has always behaved just as it does now, and that the uniform action of nature has never been interrupted by global catastrophe. In other words, evolution has an answer that is comfortable with, and is attempting to make the questions fit the answer. Now, scientists do have some facts to work with. They know, for instance, that uranium-238 changes into ionium, which decays into radium, which turns into polonium, finally into lead. And they know the half-life of these elements. So they determine the radium to lead ratio in deposits today, decide that the world is 4.5 billion years old. Now, this is not all assumption. It's not all supposition. Certain observable facts are involved in their reasoning, and there's nothing wrong with their conclusions, but observable facts about the past are missing. We were not there to look and see. The result is that the currently available facts have been overwhelmed by assumptions about the past. Do you follow me? And assumptions have a way of tripping you up. Now, I am a creationist. I freely admit that I cannot offer you proof of creation. That is, I cannot offer you what the scientific world would accept as proof. Creation, I say, cannot be placed in a test tube. It cannot be reproduced in the laboratory. It'll not yield to the scientific process. And yet creation is not really a theory. It's not speculation. It's not an assumption. It is in no way the product of man's mind. The creationist simply chooses to take the word of one who says he created this world, and who says he made the stars, and who says he created man in his own image. Blind faith? Well, you may call it that. It's true that his statements about creation cannot be proved, but is it blind to take the word of one whose statements in other matters have consistently turned out to be right and never once wrong? Is there any risk in trusting what God says about the past when He's always been right about the future? Listen, friend, is faith in the changing assumptions of evolution safer or less blind? To me, it seems so much safer and so much easier to take the clear, simple, plain, understandable statements of the book of Genesis, the very first words of the Bible, of which read, "In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth." Over and over in the Scriptures, God identifies Himself as the one who made all things, who made the heaven and the earth. In contrast, He speaks over in Jeremiah 10, verse 11, of the gods that have not made the heavens and the earth. And so He asks, in Isaiah 44, verse 8, He asks this question, "Is there any God beside me, or any creator, even one that I do not know?" He throws out a challenge to all false gods, the gods of accident and chance, along with the gods of wood and stone. They have a standing invitation to demonstrate their creative power. Evolution is said to have performed wonderful feats of change, of evolutionary progress in the distant past, but nobody can get it to perform now, even on the darkest nights, even in the most isolated wilderness, in tropical heat or Arctic cold, where it is wet or where it is dry, in the air or under the sea. Cats have not been turning into dogs, or cows into horses, starfishes into whales, or robins into seagulls. The truth is that Darwinism has been in trouble for some time now. In fact, the latest discoveries in the field of molecular biology, rather than supporting evolution, are the most powerful evidence which has yet emerged against the whole theory. And there's very little comfort for the evolutionist in the study of the DNA. Scientists are baffled as to how the simplest organic molecules came into existence in the first place, and still more baffling is how proteins and genes got together in the first cells. The chances against it are tremendous, as we shall see during this half hour. Now, Darwin was not wrong in everything he taught. He observed correctly that there were variations in all organisms. All organisms. These variations are the basis of our hundreds of species. But these minor changes do not cross the boundaries of families, you see, and orders and classes as Darwin had hoped. The science of genetics shows how changes may occur by the assortment and recombination of genes. But these changes concern only minor features, such as color and shape or size of parts. The major features that distinguish one kind from another, a cat from a dog, for instance, or a lily from a rose, have never been known to change. They're fixed. Actually, the variations that we see within the kinds of animals, the evidences of adaptation, these, rather than being the result of organic evolution, could as well be seen as evidence of the Creator's power and forethought and care for His creatures. Let me explain. You recall that God, when He had finished creating our world and all that was in it, He found it very good. Everything He had created was very good, perfect, with no need to adapt. But when sin came in, all this was changed. The environment, the climate, all underwent change, sometimes drastic change. So what did a loving Creator do? Did He leave the creatures that He had made with no defense against these new and often unpleasant and even dangerous conditions? No. He gave them the ability to adapt. But that doesn't mean that He gave bears the ability to become leopards, or horses to become lions, worms to become robins, or gorillas to become men. Do you see? Evolution, I say again, is in trouble. No matter how enthusiastically it tries to sell its speculations, something in nature keeps standing up and saying, no. And then there's the matter of time. Time is something the evolutionists seem to have plenty of. They adjust their estimates up and down by millions of years without batting an eye. Supposedly anything could happen if you just give it enough time. But time, the valued friend of evolution, alleged to be the active agent in turning its theories into fact, time itself may yet turn out to be its most stubborn dilemma, its greatest embarrassment. Not enough time. Let's follow through with just one mind-boggling illustration of this problem of not enough time. We'll say that our goal is to produce by random chance just one single cell. In fact, to make it as easy as possible, let's make a cell only 1/10 as large and complicated as the simplest cell known to exist. Let's say that to start with, we have 1 quart of the necessary simple, basic biochemicals, such as amino acids, simple sugars, etc. And let's give the experiment plenty of time, say 10 billion years. Now here's our question. What would be the chance of spontaneously, that is, by pure chance, by random molecular activity, what would be the chance of producing just one of those cells in 10 billion years? The complex biochemicals necessary for the construction of that one tiny cell? What would we have a chance at all? Would we have one chance in 10 billion years of producing one tiny cell? Would we have a half a chance? No. 16th of a chance? No. Far less than that. We would have a fraction of a chance, but it is a fraction so small that it can be neither read and nor could I even write it for you. To find that tiny fraction of a chance, we would have to divide 1 by an incomprehensible figure. That figure would be a 1 followed by 340 million zeros. If you wanted to type out that figure at 12 zeros to the inch, it would take a tape 447 miles long. 447 miles of zeros. That tiny infinitesimal fraction of a chance, once in 10 billion years, and then only one tiny cell. How long would it take to produce a seagull or a man? By the way, my friend, that mind-boggling illustration didn't come from a creationist. It came from a staunch evolutionist. All we've done is to use simpler words. Now, do you see the dilemma? Our evolutionist friends tell us that the Earth is only about 4.5 billion years old. Yet even if it were 10 billion years old, there wouldn't be a squillionth of a chance of spontaneously producing even one tiny cell. Not enough time. That's embarrassing for, of all people, an evolutionist. But now listen. The dilemma grows. If life originated in the sea at all, as the evolutionists tell us it did, you have to have a very, very old ocean. But what if the ocean isn't even 1 billion years old? What if the ocean can be shown to be relatively youthful, say not more than 10,000 years old? What then? Well, according to the Bible record found in the book of Genesis, this earth and its oceans cannot possibly be more than 10,000 years old, and possibly less. And what if the scientific evidence available to us agrees? What do the oceans say? What is the witness of the sea? Careful study of present erosion and sedimentation rates, will not go into detail, has turned up some facts that may surprise you. For instance, it's estimated that a total of 27.5 billion tons of sediment are delivered to the ocean every year from our continents. To make that figure more understandable, let me say that 80 freight train cars of sediment are being added to the ocean every second. Now, most evolutionary uniformitarian geologists would admit that this estimate of 27.5 billion tons a year is approximately correct. So we ask, how long would it take to deliver the present continents to the ocean if the present rate of erosion should continue? Well, the answer, skipping over the calculations, is that the continents are being denuded at a rate that could easily level them in a mere 14 million years. Yet evolutionary uniformitarian geologists feel certain that the continents have existed for at least 1 billion years. Think it through. During that supposed billion years, our present continents would easily have been completely eroded more than 70 times. Yet the continents are still here. We're sitting on them tonight. And the fossils in these continents give us no evidence of having been washed away and redeposited over and over, even 7 times, not to mention 70. Well, I won't worry you with more figures. Let me simply say that the testimony of the ocean can only be embarrassing to the evolutionist. The ocean, like the human cell, like all nature, stands up and says a fearless no. Yes, evolution has been playing Anna's game. Has the answer it likes, but it can't seem to find the questions to fit. Is it any wonder that a lot of people, a good number of scientists among them, are getting tired of the game? Thank God we don't have to play games. We don't have to grope blindly backward until we bump into the answers. We don't have to be uncertain, and guilty, and afraid. We don't have to go through life without hope. We don't have to go on riding this planet aimlessly, not knowing where or when or why we got aboard. We don't have to go on thinking we've arrived here by chance, or headed somewhere or nowhere by chance. We aren't children of chance. We're children of the heavenly King. True, there's a certain fascination, a certain false sense of freedom to the idea that we're evolving upward under our own power, that we're responsible to neither God nor man, but it's a freedom that soon turns to despair. Wouldn't you rather know that you're created in the image of God, that you fell from the top, that you're a sinner, but a sinner whom Jesus, your Creator, died to save? Wouldn't you rather know that He can turn your life around and fill it with purpose and meaning and hope this very moment as we pray? Our faithful Creator God, these few moments have touched some very basic questions. Questions every man, woman, and child finds it necessary to answer. Thank you, Lord, for the confidence we can have in the Scripture record of our origins, for the reasonable and responsible answers that we find there. Give hope and faith to all who view this program today and the assurance of the forgiveness of our sins. For we ask it in Jesus' faithful name. Amen.
I'm Lonnie Melashenko. Would you like to have a book that is packed full of fascinating evidence that there is a Creator, that we aren't here by chance? Well, here it is, and it's our gift for you today, Pastor Vandeman's book, Tying Down the Sun. We'll tell you in a moment where to phone or write for your copy. Tying Down the Sun. Like the title? You'll like the whole book. There isn't a dull page in it. You'll learn how the common honeybee proves the existence of a Creator. And you'll be amazed and thrilled as you see how marvelously the birds have been constructed for flying, certainly not by chance. Ask for the book by name, Tying Down the Sun, and we'll get it promptly into the mail. And now here is the information you need.
You may request our free offer by phone. Simply dial the local number shown on your screen. The operator needs only your name, address, and phone number, and the name of the offer you want. It'll be sent by mail, free and postpaid. You may wish to write down the local number on your screen so you can call again if the lines are busy. Or, if you prefer, you may write directly to George Vandeman, Thousand Oaks, California, 91360. Please be sure to mention the offer by name when you write to George Vandeman, Thousand Oaks, California.
Pastor Vandeman would like to offer you an opportunity to strengthen your faith in the heritage carved out by the great reformers as they followed the leading of God's holy word. Loma Linda University and It Is Written have been asked by Family Heritage Tours to host a tour of the Reformation lands this September during the historic 500th anniversary of the birth of Martin Luther. For a free copy of this brochure, write Reformation Lands Tour, Box O, Thousand Oaks, California.
Thanks, Lonnie. And let me add my thanks to our viewing friends for your support and your prayers that are so important to this television ministry. We turn now to our prayer alert feature for today.
There's nothing more frustrating than a locked door without the key. Today we're going to be talking with a woman who not only has found the key but unlocked the door in the lives of millions of people. Vonette Bright. That's today on Prayer Alert.
Joining hands across the miles, It Is Written's Family of Prayer and Circle of Caring. Prayer Alert.
Vonette, Campus Crusade for Christ International is the largest lay ministry in the world, and you and your husband, of course, are well known to our viewers. But you in particular have had a special interest in recent years.
Well, prayer has been very vital to the ministry of Campus Crusade for Christ, and I've been concerned for a number of years that people be more aware of the real opportunity that we have to come to God and to ask of Him and to receive answers to prayer. I think prayer is perhaps the most neglected facet of Christian worship. Many people are not praying because they don't know how to pray. And they call out in desperation, but as far as real communication with God, they don't know how to do that. Gallup poll tells us that 90% of the population in the United States pray, but not to pray effectively. And people are really interested today in learning how to pray. So we're teaching them just to talk to God as you would your very best friend.
Thank you so much. Friend, prayer is a key, and it can be a key in your hand of faith to unlock heaven's storehouse. Pastor Vandeman.
Just a reminder to send your prayer request to me, George Vandeman, Thousand Oaks, California, 91360. And when you send in your first prayer request, I'll send you Unlocking Heaven's Storehouse. But now the time has come all too quickly to say goodbye, everyone. But remember, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God.
Hello, Roland Lenhoff again. Loma Linda University and It Is Written have been asked by Family Heritage Tours to host a tour of the Reformation lands this September during the historic 500th anniversary of the birth of Martin Luther. For further information, write Reformation Lands Tour, Box O, Thousand Oaks, California, 91360. And next week, watch at this same time as It Is Written presents The Days Before Goodbye.